Welcome back to WD.
FM, the official Walt Disney Family Museum podcast. We're your hosts, Brie Bertolacini, Marketing Manager.
And Chris Mullen, Senior Marketing and Communications Coordinator for the Walt Disney Family Museum.
Happy June, Chris. How are you doing?
Happy June. Doing so well. I'm so excited that we can finally talk about our next special exhibition, Disney Cats and Dogs. It'll be open at the end of the month, June 24th, 2023, and will be on view through January 14th, 2024, my birthday. I'm very excited for this exhibition. It's a traveling exhibition that was originally presented earlier this year by the Walt Disney Animation Research Library, Walt Disney Archives, and Disney Japan at Matsuya Ginza. This is the first time this exhibition will be on view in the United States.
Well, I am very excited to experience this special exhibition. It is so hard to decide if I'm a Disney cat person or a Disney dog person. I've been going back and forth since we announced this exhibition. Too many great characters and films to choose from, honestly.
I mean, love both, of course, but I'm a cat person by nature, so I've always been a fan of Disney cats. Just so many scene stealers. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We have a whole showdown later to determine just how much the both of us rank the various dogs and cats. This exhibition explores the evolution and innovation of Walt Disney Animation Studios' animal-inspired animation and storytelling through the decades. This extensive collection of over 300 archival reproduction objects highlights the true-to-life design and movements of Disney's speaking and nonverbal cats and dogs, perfectly paired with their charismatic personalities and quirks that make them such memorable characters.
While this exhibition also gives visitors an insight into my favorite thing to talk about, Walt's love of animals. Of course, I love my Walt ties. Walt's family cared for many cats and dogs throughout his life, and he often found inspiration for sequences in his films from these animal friends. Chris, did you know that in the early days of the Disney Brothers cartoon studio, Walt created roles for his Uncle Robert Disney's German Shepherd, Peggy? She was the first appearance of a real-life Disney dog.
Wow, I did not know that actually. That would make for a really deep cut trivia question. The wide array of objects on view have been provided by the Walt Disney Animation Research Library, or ARL, and Walt Disney Archives. The ARL carefully stores, digitizes, and archives works of art related to Disney animation so that they can be studied and appreciated by future generations. Many of the delicate works that were sourced for the exhibition, such as original watercolor paintings and pastel illustrations from as early as the 1930s, are at risk of being damaged if removed from storage. While the appreciation of original art is undeniably valuable, there are significant benefits to engaging with reproductions in certain contexts, such as interactive elements within gallery spaces. By utilizing professional grade reproductions in Disney Cats and Dogs, we can provide visitors with a broader and more inclusive range of educational and creative activities without the risk of damaging irreplaceable masterpieces. This approach also allows museum guests the opportunity to see unique details of these historic artworks up close.
This is a different type of exhibition that we're able to host, and I think it will be really exciting to explore some of Disney's most famous cat and dog characters. I know for a lot of people, when they heard this exhibition was traveling from Japan, some ears perked up thinking about what else? The merch. I know that's what I was thinking. I was like, where's the merch? Our museum store will be selling imported exhibition merchandise from Disney Japan, created especially for this exhibition. So I'm really excited.
Also excited to check out the merch. Well, Disney Cats and Dogs doesn't just end with on screen characters either. We also want to see your pets featured in this special exhibition. Submit a photo of your pet for a chance to see their face on a digital display alongside some of the most famous animated animals in Disney history. Visit our website at waltdisney.org/cats-and-dogs to share a picture of your furry friend.
Well, to talk about an exhibition that is currently on view is Pencils and Passion, a student art exhibition, a celebration of the museum's educational initiatives and the achievements of its students. This exhibition features student-created traditional and digital artworks, including animated short films, which have been produced over the past decade in partnership with the Walt Disney Family Museum. This exhibition is free for all to view in our lower lobby gallery now through fall of 2023.
And some more stuff going on. Join us this month in celebrating Disney Cats and Dogs with a month-long screening during the month of June of Bolt, the story of a superstar dog who must find his real-world strength when the cameras stop rolling and he is separated from his beloved owner. Accompanying this screening is Pixar's Kit Bull, a short film about the unlikely friendship between a kitten and a pit bull.
I see we're making sure we aren't giving preferential treatment to Disney cats or dogs. We've made it a fair representation this month. I like it.
This month is also Pride Month. This month, we are celebrating the LGBTQ plus community's contributions to the world of animation. Each week, tune into our Facebook and YouTube channels to revisit some of our favorite Happily Ever After Hours programs from the past featuring leaders in animation that are a part of the LGBTQ plus community. Hear from Pixar animator and voice actress Brett Parker, Pixar layout lead Andrea Go, and editorial coordinator Jake Kaplan, producers and directors Rebecca Sugar and Ian Jones-Quartey, and television showrunner Shadi Petoskey.
Join us for an in-person panel discussion about the development of the San Francisco Gay Men's Choruses Disney Pride in Concert with artistic director and conductor Jacob Stensberg, associate director of music, education, and outreach Mitch Golly, principal accompanist and music supervisor Nicholas Perez, and storyteller Mark Alfaro. The discussion will be followed by an exclusive vocal performance by soloist and chorus member Ty Roman. That should be very exciting.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. And without further ado, it is now time for our Collections Clash. Each month, we square off with some of our favorite objects from the museum, and you, the audience, get to vote on your favorite. Before we get started, let's see where the audience came down on last month's Collections Clash, where the topic was miniatures. First round was between your pick of Walt's miniature pink bed that received 22% of the votes, and my pick of the Lily Bell that received 78% of the votes.
For round two, it was between your pick of Walt's potbelly stoves that received 19% of the votes. That one is kind of surprising. And my pick of the Main Street elevations that received 81% of the votes.
And for the final round, it was between your pick of the miniature photos of Paris, France that received 39% of the votes, and my pick of the miniature collection of William Shakespeare that received 61% of the votes.
Well, congrats, Chris, on your win. And this month will be actually a little different. Instead of our collections clash and celebration of Disney cats and dogs, we will be doing a character clash. And so Chris and I were going to face off with dueling iconic Disney cat and dog characters. The characters we're picking will be featured in the exhibition. Chris, since you won last month, you get to go first.
Well, it was rough to make a first pick, but I couldn't go anywhere else than Pluto. Pluto debuted in 1930's The Chain Gang as an unnamed hound. He briefly played Minnie's dog Rover in The Picnic, also released in 1930, not to be confused with Perfect Picnic for my fans of Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway out there, before becoming Mickey's dog officially in The Moose Hunt in 1931. Pluto's tumble with a piece of flypaper in 1934's Playful Pluto inspired future Disney legends Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnston. Animated by Pluto specialist Norm Ferguson, Frank and Ollie called the sequence a, quote, milestone in personality animation in their 1981 book, Disney Animation, The Illusion of Life. They continued, quote, through it all, Pluto's reaction to his predicament and his thoughts of what to try next are shared with the audience. It was the first time a character seemed to be thinking on the screen, and, though it lasted only 65 seconds, it opened the way for animation of real characters with real problems, end quote. Pluto also did something that even his owner didn't do, win a competitive Academy Award. While Walt won a special Academy Award for Mickey Mouse, Pluto's 1941 short film, Lend a Paw, took home the prize in the category of Best Short Subject Cartoon.
Well, that was a very good first pick. I mean, how can I compete with Pluto? I don't really know where to go from here, but I'm going to do my best. Mickey's best pal. I mean, come on. Well, I feel like the ultimate kind of foil for Pluto. Pluto is such a wholesome character, man's best friend. He really is so loyal. I feel like the opposite of that, to kind of go head to head with him, would be Lucifer from Cinderella.
Good pick.
Lucifer was the perfectly paired cat to Lady Tremaine, Cinderella's, some might call evil stepmother. I don't really know. Is that her official title, an evil stepmother?
That's a good question. We may have to do some research to see, because I always thought that she was called the evil stepmother before I learned more about the film and saw that she actually had a name, Lady Tremaine. So I would think that that was more something that came about afterwards, but we'll have to take a look and see if we can deduce that.
I mean, Disney is known for having some truly evil stepmothers. Evil Queen and Lady Tremaine. Well, Lucifer is one haughty cat who is always eager to chase and torment Jock and Gus, and even at times Bruno the dog. Lucifer is different than other Disney henchmen. He is clever, he's cunning, and not at all foolish, contrary to Lady Tremaine's daughters, Anastasia and Drizella. So he really embodies kind of that evil cat, and really, Lucifer is a fitting name.
Well, Lucifer is such a great choice. I mean, Ward Kimball really put his whole train engineer glove into those sequences. Now, since it is a snake style draft, Brie, you also have the next pick.
Well, for my next pick, I'm going with the lovely Marie from the Aristocats. I do love when she says, ladies don't start fights, they finish them. She has some very iconic lines. I think that's what's made her so endearing. She's the singer of the group, while her brother's Toulouse is an aspiring painter and Berlioz is an aspiring musician. I do love how all three of these kittens, their names were inspired by Marie Antoinette, French painter Henri de Toulouse-Lautrec. Nope, I don't know. My French, again, it hasn't improved since last month. But then, and composer Hector Berlioz. So Toulouse and Berlioz, I'm able to do those names. But what I love most about Marie is that she is trying so hard to emulate the elegance of her mother, Duchess, but having brothers, she doesn't shy away from getting into tumbles with them. So she still has that kind of roughness by just growing up with brothers, just naturally entails. She's romantic and is one of the first to root for Thomas O'Malley and her mother to get together. So I just love that she's, much like me, I'm a romantic at heart. It doesn't surprise me that she is the most popular character from Aristocats, even though she isn't the main character. So
Well, who didn't want Marie as a pet growing up?
she's so cute.
Oh, yes, yes, she is so cute. But also, speaking of cute pets from Disney movies that we wanted to have growing up, my second choice is Lady, the titular Cocker Spaniel voiced by Barbara Luddy from 1955's Lady and the Tramp. Now, did you know that the famous spaghetti scene between Lady and Tramp was originally cut from the film by Walt himself? Now, luckily, Disney legend Frank Thomas revived the scene after it was cut during the storyboarding process. Walt, of course, characteristically never gave praise, but he dryly uttered, quote, "I hear you've got the best scene in the picture," which Frank appreciated all the same.
That's a great pick. I love Lady. And even though she's more of a shy character, she really, you find a lot of growth with her character from where she starts out at the beginning. I mean, at the beginning, she's a puppy, but where she's at when she leaves the family home to where she is at the end. So I really love her character.
Absolutely. And the whole connection with the hat box that Walt gave to Lily with their dog emerging from it and that inspiring the scene in Lady and the Tramp. It's definitely a good, this podcast is a good venue for this kind of discussion.
Yes, exactly. I love that scene so much. You can see that scene and it'll be talked about definitely in the Disney Cats and Dogs exhibition. But since it's a snake style draft, Chris, you're up next.
For my last pick, it's Whack-a-Doodle time. I'm going with the Cheshire Cat from 1951's Alice in Wonderland. Like Lucifer mentioned before, Disney legend Ward Kimball animated the mischievous disappearing feline, who in this situation was voiced by other Disney legend Sterling Holloway. The Cheshire Cat has endured as one of Disney's most iconic characters of all time, more than 70 years beyond its debut. I personally also love the Alice in Wonderland attraction at Disneyland and always look forward to the Cheshire Cat's appearance, and disappearance for that matter. A little bit about the film before we eventually take a deeper dive on a later podcast. While Walt had a series of live action films called the Alice Comedies back in the 1920s, he wanted to make Alice in Wonderland as a feature film. He reportedly considered Mary Pickford to star in a live action version of the Lewis Carroll tale back in 1933. Eagle-eyed viewers of 1940s Pinocchio can see Alice in Wonderland in book form near the Pinocchio storybook, over a decade before the animated Alice adaptation came to the big screen.
That is a very fun fact. I always love learning more about Alice in Wonderland. And, Walt really did love Lewis Carroll's stories. So tying it all the way back to his very early start of the Disney company, now over, 100 years celebrating this year. So it's very cool. I love the Cheshire Cat. He's mischievous. And so that's why I'm taking us down maybe a more like wholesome route with my final pick. Since two of my picks have been cats, for my last pick, I'm going to go with the lovable Nana, Nana the dog, and Peter Pan. Nana is the Darlings' family pet, but also the nanny to their children, Wendy, John, and Michael Darling. She's a clever, uncomplaining, and obedient St. Bernard who does the daily chores of making up the beds and straightening up the room. And even when she's scolded by Mr. Darling and marched to the backyard, she even helps him find a rope to tie her next to the doghouse. Like, she just knows. She's like, I know. She's just so sweet. She's such an endearing character. And I love that even though her role in the Darling family is to watch over the children, you can just tell how loved she is by this family. And the kids just are all, poor Nana. I always can hear Michael saying that. As she's tied to her doghouse when the children fly with Peter Pan, Nana does not get to go to Neverland, thus appearing only in the beginning and the very end of the film. But her character in the film was impactful nonetheless. I feel like Alice in Wonderland and Peter Pan are both very popular films amongst our listeners. So I'm interested to see how this one pans out.
Hey, that's my job. Poor Nana, indeed. But yes, we'll see how this last one shakes out. I feel like we got two very, very equal choices here. Now, of course, it's time for our honorable mentions. Our picks will feature all Disney and Pixar cats and dogs, no matter if they are in the exhibition or not. These will not be up for competitive voting. While I couldn't find space in my 3 picks for this next pooch, there is no denying his impact on Disney and film history, Old Yeller. Taken in as a stray, Old Yeller saved members of the Coates family several times, proving himself a courageous pup, but contracts a deadly disease and must be put down by Tommy Kirk's Travis. The classic boy and his dog movie from 1957 has lasted generations and perhaps traumatized millions with its tragic ending.
Chris, woof. That is the saddest honorable mention I think we've ever had. I don't think you think Old Yeller without thinking of a poor, dead dog. Yeah, very traumatizing. But I'm going to meet your saddest honorable mention with my sad honorable mention. So we'll, kind of go head to head with that. But for my first honorable mention, I'm going with Mufasa, going for a big cat. Yeah.
Good pick. Very sad.
Yeah, as a kid, I was a big Lion King fan. And the death of Mufasa was always a tearjerker and still is to this day. Like, you're not human if you don't watch that scene and poor Simba's face, seeing his father. Anyways, won't go into it. You know how it ends. Through the entire first half of the film, you see how much love Mufasa has for his son Simba and the eagerness to show him the importance of what it takes to be king. The weight of Mufasa's death and the guilt that comes with it for young Simba set him up to leave the Pride Lands. I love how the character Mufasa speaks truth to his words at the beginning of the film, that ancestors can be found in the stars and they never truly leave us. And, when Simba needs him the most, he shows up in the clouds for Simba and is the encouragement that he needs to fight for his rightful place as king. So,
my only problem with that pick is that we don't get nearly enough Mufasa alive in the movie. I just need to hear James Earl Jones's voice for the entire runtime of that film. I'd be very happy if that was the case. My next pick is Figaro, the feisty feline from 1940's Pinocchio. Figaro's animation was handled by Disney legend and one of Walt's 9 old men, Eric Larson. He worked on other characters as well, but his extraordinary ability to produce pantomime animation was on full display in the scene where Figaro, just wanting to get some sleep, who hasn't been there, has to emerge from his warm, comfy bed and struggle to open the window for his master, Geppetto. The scene played so well that it even received applause from the studio group as they screened it in its rough pencil form. Quote, "I had a lot of fun with that particular little sequence," Larson said. According to Larson, Walt loved Figaro and said, quote, "Just do what you want," end quote. So, he did. He animated and animated to the point of running hundreds of feet of film over. In fact, most of it would have to be cut. Quote, "We cut out enough to make 2 shorts," Larson remembered, but Walt fell in love with it. Figaro went on to have his own short series of cartoons, making a total of 7 additional appearances, including a stint as Minnie Mouse's cat. The range.
I love that. I love when a character has a career outside of his, big moment. Well, in the exhibition, we focus on Walt Disney Animation Studios films, so that doesn't include any Pixar cats and dogs. So I'm throwing this next honorable mention a bone and picking Doug from Up. He's the fun-loving golden retriever who's able to speak via a special color that translates his thoughts into speech invented by his former master, Charles Muntz. I always want to say mints, but it's months. I love seeing the relationship of Doug and Carl, who has a tough time accepting Doug in the beginning, but the two become best pals in the end. Doug is unique in that he's a talking dog without the other animals in the film being talking animals. And it was just a fun and unique way to kind of give the dog's personality throughout the film. I just love Doug and his new short series on Disney Plus, Doug Days, which shows Doug adjusting to life in suburbia with Carl and all the adventures he gets into. So
Yeah, and we'll have that upcoming virtual program with the voice of Doug and the show's runner and producer. So definitely check that out if you also like Doug as much as we do. Well, and I'm going to stick with Pixar as well. My next pick is Slinky Dog from the Toy Story franchise. Making his first appearance in 1995's Toy Story, Slink was voiced by Jim Varney before his passing, and since then by Blake Clark. When Andy passed his toys onto Bonnie at the end of Toy Story 3, he praised Slinky as, quote, loyal as any dog you could want. Also, personally, in my time working at Disney's Hollywood Studios Park at Walt Disney World, I got to assist in the opening of Toy Story Land, so the star of the Slinky Dog Dash attraction will always hold a special spot for me.
oh, I love a good slinky dog. That's a great pick. Well, for my next honorable mention, I'm going with a bit of an unconventional pick. I'm going with Tigger, T-I-double-G-R. That spells Tigger. He's a tiger stuffed animal. I just never really made the connection that he was a stuffed tiger animal because he has his song, The Wonderful Thing About Tiggers, and he boasts that he is the only Tigger in existence. And I thought, you're right, he is. He's one of a kind, but he's indeed, a tiger, which is a big cat, so that counts. I love this bouncy, trouncy, flouncy, fun character so much, and he just adds so much life to the Winnie the Pooh, the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh shorts, and I just think he's so amazing. And fun fact, the song that was The Wonderful Thing About Tiggers was written by the legendary songwriting duo Richard and Robert Sherman. So they're just hit after hit. They were just hit makers. So great.
Those boys could really turn a tune.
Yes.
For my next honorable mention, I am pulling the lever to get to the secret lab. Yes, I'm talking about Yzma in her cat form near the end of 2000's The Emperor's New Groove. Voiced by the incomparable Eartha Kitt, Yzma isn't a cat for very long, but it's a very memorable appearance, capping off what, in my estimation, is a very perfect film.
I love that for you. You're an Emperor's New Groove #1 fan, so I was not surprised by this pick. Well, for my next honorable mention, I'm going with Bruno from Cinderella. I feel bad for the often forgotten Bruno because we inevitably focus on his evil cat counterpart, Lucifer. I mean, I definitely did for our character clash, so I'm the problem. It's me. Paying homage to the wonderful Bruno. You see a scene in the film where a young Cinderella was gifted Bruno as a puppy by her father, and after her father died, Bruno and Cinderella grew up together under the hand of her evil stepmother. That's just what I'm going to call her. But you can see how protective Bruno is of Cinderella throughout the film. He is very loyal. And by the end of the film, he gets revenge on Lucifer, who is the reason Bruno gets sent out of the house. You see Bruno scaring Lucifer out of the tower window and was able to free the mice, who were then able to aid in Cinderella's escape. I'm going to say I really hope cat falling out of the window always lands on his feet, so I know Lucifer was just fine.
Well, to follow up your Taylor Swift reference from before, Karma may be a cat, but I don't think she was talking about Lucifer falling out of the tower window. For my last honorable mention, I'm returning to yet another incredible film from my childhood, 2002's Treasure Planet. Which character was a dog, you may ask? Dr. Delbert Doppler, astronomer, voiced by David Hyde Pierce, and animated in a unit that included past Happily Ever After Hours guest Sergio Pablos. I just love this film. It definitely awakened a love of sci-fi for me, and it was definitely one of my earliest shipping experiences as his back and forth with cat character Amelia, voiced of course by Emma Thompson. You saw them kind of bicker in the beginning, and then they end up married at the end, and it just felt like everything was right with the world.
I love that. Treasure Planet, I always considered to be, it was almost a little too sci-fi for me as a kid growing up. And I've come to watch it as an adult and I love it. And it's so great. Treasure Planet essentially a remake of Treasure Island?
It is, yes, of Disney's very first live action feature film, Treasure Island.
I love this kind of creative way that Treasure Planet takes on the remake of Treasure Island. That's very creative.
Well, I was always, I think, going to be a fan of Treasure Planet because when I went to Disneyland as a little kid, I got to stand on Jim Hawkins' glider and get an
Oh,
autograph from the man himself. So always a big Treasure Planet fan from youth.
I love that. Well, for my final pick, I'm going with another Pixar dog, Dante from Coco. Now, this is the kookiest dog, and I just find him such a fun character on the screen. And I just find him so endearing. This dog breed has a complicated pronunciation, and after last month's French, I'm definitely not going to bother. But the nickname of the breed is Zolo. So the Zolo dog is the national dog of Mexico. They are nearly hairless and often have missing teeth, causing their tongues to hang out, which is what we see in Dante's character, adding to the kookiness. I love it. The part about his character I love the most is that at the end of the film, Dante stays in the land of the dead, becomes a new Alebrije guardian to the family, and the Rivera family finally appreciates Dante. Having a dog in your life can be so rewarding, and knowing that you have that kind of guardian with your loved ones who have passed on is just such a sweet sentiment. I could get a little teary eyed now thinking about it.
Well, that's a great final pick. And that'll bring us to the end of our first ever character clash, where it was literally raining cats and dogs. Visit our Instagram story today, June 7th, to vote on your favorite dogs or cats, or email us at podcast@wdfmuseum.org to cast your votes.
Thanks for tuning in to WDFM, the official Walt Disney Family Museum podcast. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at WDF Museum for all the latest updates.
Like a dog with a bone or a cat out of the bag, keep moving forward.
TTFN.